but your ego is pissing me off. You think you're the shit. You think you're so high and mighty. You're literally comparing yourself to a god.
Back on Christmas Day in 2018, Deji posted a tweet aimed straight at his older brother, KSI. He called KSI a bully, said he always played the victim, claimed he turned his fans against other people, and described him as the type of person who believed he was always right. It was a bold message, and it immediately grabbed everyone's attention. At the time, most people across the internet laughed it off. Deji was painted as the frustrated younger brother, someone who couldn't match KSI's success and was only trying to stay in the spotlight. But looking back years later, that tweet feels very different. Instead of sounding like an emotional outburst, some people now see it as surprisingly accurate.
I need to try and get more views than Speed. Who's next? Yeah. Until I get to Jimmy.
They point to KSI's recent public controversies, the talk around the Sidemen, reports like the Daily Mirror story about his longtime friends, and interviews where many viewers felt he was trying hard to build connections with creators like Mr. Beast and iShowSpeed. Looking back now, some viewers believe Deji had been warning people about KSI's behavior for years. In this video, we're going to break down the biggest Deji versus KSI moments, revisit the key tweets, public statements, and major turning points, then compare them with what happened later. The goal is to see why more people are starting to say Deji's old claims deserve another look. Both Olatunji brothers launched their YouTube careers in 2011. Then, in 2013, KSI became a co-founder of the Sidemen, while Deji wasn't part of the group. From the very beginning, Deji was on the outside looking in. By 2015, Tubular Labs ranked them as the two most influential UK YouTubers, with KSI in first place and Deji in second. That public ranking helped lock in how many fans saw them.
But the one thing you ain't been spreading is that JJ paid for your wedding.
KSI was viewed as the bigger star, while Deji was often introduced as KSI's brother, instead of being recognized for his own achievements. Many people believe that constant comparison shaped how audiences viewed every disagreement between them and influenced how later events were received. By late 2018, things had become much more tense. The brothers had already gone through a difficult year, and one of the biggest flashpoints came after Deji accidentally shared KSI's bank account details in a diss track, making their already damaged relationship even more public. Their parents also became publicly involved, making the family conflict even more visible, and tensions between everyone were reaching a breaking point. Then Christmas Day arrived and the situation exploded across Twitter. KSI posted that Deji had told him to leave the family home that morning. He wrote, "Kicked out the house. Bro says he owns the house. Said he'd call the police if I stay. My parents just look by and allow it, LOL. After all the years of helping this boy. Just sad."
The one thing you ain't been spreading is that JJ paid for your wedding.
Whoa. Wait, that's out of order. Nah. Don't get me involved with fam. I'm just watching. That's on my parents, man. Mom, dad, I'm disappointed. I'm actually disappointed that you actually let him into my accounts and post it publicly. Like, what the That's actually, you dare put my information out on blast like that. Don't do that. I keep that private. Mom, dad, I'm disappointed in you. Well, that's put me in a bad mood. Fuck, this banged as well.
How dare you speak on my wedding when you getting bitches pregnant and then you end it.
Alright, see, now just from that line alone, I already know that this whole track is now gonna just be on lies. I have never, ever gotten a girl pregnant. Ever. I have never gotten a girl pregnant. And a lot of people who have had sex with me would know why I've never gotten a girl pregnant. The only person who's ever gotten a girl pregnant is my brother, alright? My brother has got someone pregnant. And I imagine it was probably JJ who gave you some information, because that's what JJ's probably done.
That's where things just completely kicked off. This morning, Deji tweeted out that KSI blocked him on Twitter and Instagram with the quotations, "Family always has your back." Now, there was radio silence from KSI for about an hour, but KSI tweeted this: "Get rid of negative, troublesome, delusional people, even if they're family. None of you understand what's going on with me or my family. I keep things personal for a reason. Never speaking about this again."
The post quickly spread online and shaped the early conversation. Before Deji had publicly responded, many people had already seen KSI's version of events. Critics later argued that the tweet presented KSI as the one who had been wronged, while supporters felt he was simply sharing his side of what had happened. Deji responded soon after, and his reply has become one of the most talked about parts of their long-running feud. He wrote, "You always play the victim card and just manipulate your fans to hate me. "You're nothing but a bully who thinks he's always right. Merry Christmas." That message would continue to be referenced for years. The main accusations were clear: playing the victim, influencing fans against him, and acting like he was always right. As later controversies involving KSI unfolded, some viewers began comparing those events to what Deji had written back in 2018. Others disagreed with that interpretation, but the tweet remained a major point of discussion whenever the brothers' relationship came up again. Throughout this video, we'll keep returning to that Christmas Day post because it became a key reference point in the public conversation. Whether people believe Deji's claims or not, many of the later debates, including media coverage, social media posts, public interviews, and comments made between the brothers, have often been viewed through the lens of that original tweet. A few months later, in May 2019, Deji uploaded a 45-minute YouTube video with a simple title, "Bye."
I don't encourage anyone to ever have thoughts like this. I don't want anyone ever having thoughts like this, because everybody has a purpose. It's just at that time, those are the thoughts I had. So I started to lose a lot of subs, and no one came to my aid. Because if I'm honest, I've always been alone in this YouTube scene. I've always been a lone wolf. The only people I've ever really done videos with are in my family, my brother and my parents. Those are the people who I've always done videos with. My brother is making fun of the whole situation in his videos. This further caused me to get hate, and I asked my brother if he could stop trash talking me in videos, where his only response was for me to delete the diss track. But going back to my brother's texts, at the end of the day, it's just a diss track, and it's helping his channel. It's exactly what it was doing. It was helping his channel. My brother laughed at the situation and reacted to the diss track, reacted to my videos on him, and was just making fun of the situation. I privated the diss track. The diss track had been made private, and I then told my brother to stop trash talking me in videos, which he did not stop.
That video marked another major turning point in the ongoing conflict. When the video first came out, a lot of fans dismissed it as nothing more than a meltdown from the younger brother. KSI even joked about the video's length and the fact that it had ads. Supporters on both sides argued back and forth, and much of the conversation focused on the drama instead of what Deji was actually saying. Looking back now, though, some viewers see the "Bye" video differently. Rather than viewing it as an emotional outburst, they see it as Deji's attempt to explain his side of the story and lay out years of frustration. Whether people agree with him or not, the video offers a detailed look at how he believed their relationship had broken down behind the scenes. One of the key moments comes when Deji says, "I've supported him when he had sexual claims regarding his video, all those videos he used to do. I've supported him in everything. Even when he took a long break on YouTube, I still supported him." From Deji's perspective, the message was simple. He felt he had stood by his brother during difficult public moments, but didn't feel that same level of support was returned when he needed it. Around that same period, Deji also spoke to Hollywood Fix, bringing the situation beyond YouTube and into mainstream entertainment coverage. During the interview, he said, "There's a lot of stuff my brother's done that I can't forgive."
Most groups or all groups, there's always like a Harry Styles, or in One Direction, or a Beyonce in Destiny's Child. You could argue that I am that of the Sidemen.
Visually, outside looking in, when you think about the Sidemen, it'll always be KSI.
But that's just because, I've done more things.
That comment showed just how serious and deeply personal the conflict had become. At that point, the disagreement no longer looked like just another YouTube argument. It had become a major public story, with online creators, entertainment outlets, and fans all weighing in on what was happening between the two brothers. KSI responded with a video titled "Ending It All," which ran for about 1 hour and 20 minutes. In it, he described Deji's video as an overrated hoax and accused him of, in his own words, manipulating his audience. That stood out because it closely echoed one of the same criticisms Deji had recently made about him, adding another layer to the public back and forth. The fallout was significant for both of them. Each received heavy criticism online and saw negative reactions from parts of their audiences. Even so, many people at the time appeared to side with KSI, likely influenced by his larger platform, wider popularity, and his role as a member of the Sidemen. Then, in June 2019, another major moment arrived when KSI appeared on the Impulsive podcast, an interview that many fans still point back to today. Soon after, Deji appeared on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast, even though Logan was, at the time, KSI's biggest public rival. That decision immediately created more headlines. KSI reacted on social media, calling Deji a snake and making it clear he was unhappy about the interview taking place. During that podcast, Deji gave a detailed explanation of how he viewed his brother's personality and behavior. Several of his comments have continued to be discussed years later because some fans believe they line up with later public moments. Whether people agree with Deji's assessment or not, those statements have remained part of the conversation surrounding their relationship.
Keep it up, and then it's like, all right, cool. I'm looking at Speed now. I need to try and get more views than Speed.
Yeah.
And I need to get more.
You're on smoke. You're on smoke.
Yeah. And then after Speed, who's next?
Yeah.
Until I get to Jimmy.
One of Deji's biggest claims was about what he described as KSI having a god complex. He said, "I'm a god. I actually think he thinks he's a god." That quote has since been revisited by some viewers when discussing KSI's public comments in later years. For example, critics have pointed to a 2025 clip in which KSI compared his role in the Sidemen to the standout star in other successful groups, referencing artists like Beyoncé and Harry Styles. Some viewers interpreted those remarks as showing a high level of confidence, while others felt they reflected the kind of attitude Deji had described years earlier. That comparison has remained a topic of debate among fans ever since. He also said something that many of you have probably already seen in clips online. KSI spoke about wanting to become bigger than creators like Mr. Beast and iShowSpeed. Some fans saw that as an ambitious goal, while others viewed it as unrealistic and criticized the comparison. His critics argued that those comments come across as overly confident or disconnected from reality, and they believe they support the concerns Deji raised years earlier. Others, however, see them as simple ambition rather than proof of Deji's claims. Deji made those comments about what he believed was KSI's God complex years before later public debates, brought the topic back into the spotlight. Whether that was an accurate prediction or simply Deji's personal opinion is still something fans argue about today. Another point Deji raised was that he felt the relationship wasn't balanced. He suggested that KSI often presented himself as supportive in public, while privately making the people around him feel less important. That was Deji's perspective at the time, and it became one of the central themes of his criticism. Years later, some viewers drew comparisons between those old comments and the reaction to KSI's 2026 departure from the Sidemen. Fans noted that the group's public statement indicated they were not aware of the timing of the announcement, leading some people to argue that it reflected the kind of communication issues Deji had described years earlier. Others viewed the situation differently, but the comparison quickly became part of the online discussion. The third moment Deji talked about is also one of the more unusual parts of the story. According to Deji, KSI had messaged him telling him not to appear on Logan Paul's podcast because Logan was considered his biggest rival at the time. Looking back, many fans have joked about just how intense that rivalry seemed during that era. Looking back, the situation has struck many fans as ironic. At the time, the rivalry between KSI and Logan Paul was treated like a huge personal conflict, making Deji's appearance on Impulsive seem like a major betrayal. Years later, though, the story took a very different turn. KSI eventually partnered with Logan Paul to co-found Prime Hydration, and later they also launched Lunchly alongside Mr. Beast.
I will give you 1 million.
Shut up, man. Don't do this. Can I get
1
it
million
as well?
pounds to have abs by the end of next
Can
year.
I get it as well then, please?
By the end of next year.
Can I have it?
Well,
Can I have
you're
£1 million?
basically there anyway.
Yeah, I am, but can I have £1 million, please?
What?
But if you just dish out £1 million for a couple of abs, then fuck me.
I'm also his brother.
The bet is 8 abs.
Now
Yeah,
we'll give
well,
it,
are
no,
we
6.
talking
We'll
like
give it 6. I have to be able to see it.
Yeah, fine,
And like
deal.
you can post it online. And
I want
everyone's
like
like,
this, I
yes,
want
he
this.
has
But
that.
Deji, it can't be like in the right light. You know,
KSI then appeared on Impulsive himself, the same podcast he had reportedly discouraged Deji from joining years earlier. That timeline has led many critics to question whether his stance changed once the business relationship made sense. Supporters argue that people can move on from old rivalries and work together professionally. Critics, however, see the sequence of events as inconsistent, pointing to the contrast between KSI's earlier objections and his later partnerships. The Lunchly brand also received public criticism over product quality concerns during its launch, though the companies addressed those issues publicly. For some viewers, this brings the conversation back to Deji's 2018 Christmas Day tweet. They argue that these moments reinforce Deji's claims about KSI's behavior, while others believe they simply reflect changing circumstances rather than proving Deji's broader criticisms. The debate has continued ever since. From one perspective, Logan Paul was treated as the enemy in 2019, but only a few years later he had become KSI's business partner. Critics point to that shift as another example of KSI changing his approach when the circumstances changed, while supporters argue it simply showed that both creators had moved on from their rivalry. Then, in 2021, the relationship between the brothers appeared to improve. In June, Deji uploaded a video titled "Reunion with My Brother," where they sat down, talked through their differences, and publicly ended the feud. For the next several years, things looked much more positive. They filmed videos together, appeared on Side Plus, and supported each other by attending major boxing events. Even during that calmer period, though, some viewers felt the same themes Deji had spoken about years earlier were still showing up, just in less dramatic ways. Others saw their interactions as nothing more than playful banter between brothers and friends. One example often mentioned came in 2023 during a Side Plus episode. KSI offered Deji a £1 million challenge if he could achieve a six-pack by July 1st, 2024. If Deji didn't complete the challenge, the agreed forfeit was that he would wear a mankini. The moment quickly became another talking point among fans. At first glance, the challenge looked like harmless brotherly fun. The idea was simple. The older brother offered a huge cash prize if Deji could hit an ambitious fitness goal. Even though both of them are already financially successful, the wager still grabbed plenty of attention because of the amount involved. When July 1st arrived, Deji shared his body transformation and showed the progress he had made, including visible abs. Later that same day, KSI said on stream that he didn't believe Deji had met the standard needed to win, explaining that his abs weren't defined enough in his view. That decision sparked debate because many viewers participating in the stream's public vote thought Deji should receive the prize. Deji's response was notably restrained. He posted a photo of his transformation and wrote, "Though I didn't win the bet, I'm proud of what I've accomplished in just a month and a half."
Subscribers don't affect your livelihood, Dej. It affects your ego. I mean, how can I blame you for caring about numbers when I used to do the exact same thing? I used to be obsessed with how many subscribers I had, how many followers I had on Instagram, how many views I got on my videos, etc. I was always focused on finding ways to increase my numbers to the point where I was doing videos that I just wasn't passionate about. But I did it because I knew it would get me the views. I wasn't making videos for me anymore, and that's why I left in 2017. Yeah, I just wasn't happy at all.
Rather than turning it into another major public argument, he focused on the progress he had made instead. Some fans felt KSI should have honored the bet based on the result, while others agreed that he was simply sticking to his own interpretation of the challenge. Either way, the moment became another example that people on both sides continue to debate whenever the brothers' relationship is discussed. Deji accepted the outcome and moved on without making it into another major public dispute. That reaction stood in contrast to how some fans expected the situation to play out, and it became another moment people still bring up when discussing the brothers' history. Critics of KSI often connect that moment back to Deji's Christmas Day tweet from 2018, where he described KSI as a bully who thinks he's always right.
Like, he sees everything as a competition between us, whereas I don't. I don't have competition with family, but it seems like he does. I mean, YouTube is a huge platform, yet he wants to overtake my channel, which will result in me losing subscribers for his gain.
From their perspective, the disagreement over the fitness challenge fit a pattern they believe Deji had been describing for years. Supporters of KSI, however, argued that he simply believed the agreed standard hadn't been met, making it a matter of interpretation rather than bad faith. Moving into 2026, many of the discussions surrounding KSI shifted toward his public comments about his career ambitions. Clips circulated of him talking about wanting to outperform the Sidemen individually and eventually surpass creators like iShowSpeed and MrBeast. He also compared his role in the Sidemen to the standout member of a successful group, referencing artists such as Beyonce and Harry Styles. Those remarks generated a wide range of reactions, with some viewers seeing confidence and ambition, while others felt they came across as overly self-focused.
Did KSI leave Sidemen?
Yeah.
It's not fake?
No, it's not fake. It's like genuinely real.
I'm gonna put it on my life.
On my life, wallahi, yes, JJ's left. Yeah, JJ just wants to kind of focus more on himself. Yeah, and he also wants more free time. And he feels like leaving the Sidemen, he can get that.
At the same time, KSI later explained that stepping away from the Sidemen was motivated by factors such as burnout, family, mental health, and achieving a better work-life balance. Some fans felt those explanations sat awkwardly alongside his earlier comments about pushing to reach even greater individual success, while others saw no contradiction between having ambitious goals and recognizing the need to slow down personally. That brings us back to something KSI himself said to Deji in 2019. He told him, "Subscribers don't affect your livelihood, Deji. They affect your ego." Years later, some critics have pointed to that quote again, arguing that it invites comparisons with KSI's own public comments about views, growth, and rankings. In 2019, KSI criticized Deji for focusing on subscriber numbers, arguing that chasing stats was more about ego than real success. Years later, some critics have pointed to KSI's own public discussions about views, rankings, and the performance of creators like Mr. Beast, suggesting his messaging appears different from what he once told his brother. Supporters, however, see those comments as normal conversations about the creator industry rather than a contradiction.
Yo, so the people want to know, bro.
Yes.
You joining the Sidemen?
Am I joining the Sidemen? Alright, so I can't lie, we're in talks right now.
No.
We're in deadass, we're in
No.
talks. We're in talks.
Say you swear to God.
Like me and the Sidemen, we sat down at the round table and we you got all our armor out and everything. We're just like there being like,
Contracts being signed?
Like, yeah, so there was papers and everything. And then, and Josh was like, Deji, good sir, we would like you to join the Men of Side. And I was there like, ooh.
Oh my God, you have a ritual. It's a ritual.
No, close. So when I do join, they get a knife and they like do the knife thing.
Oh, because you're Londonese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it can't be a sword, it has to be a knife, like, like Mandem and that.
Another statement from Deji during that period also stands out. He said, "He sees everything as competition between us, whereas I don't have competition with family." That quote has remained another key reference point in debates about their relationship over the years. Some critics have also compared Deji's old comments with KSI's 2026 split from the Sidemen. They argue that Deji's claim about KSI viewing relationships through a competitive lens feels more relevant after KSI stepped away from the group that many fans saw as his second family. Others, however, see the departure as a personal career decision rather than evidence of Deji's earlier claims. On the same day the news broke, Deji was asked about it during a livestream with Jinxie and Stable Ronaldo. He confirmed that the reports were real and said that JJ simply wanted to focus on himself, adding another perspective to the discussion surrounding the announcement. For many people, that moment ties the entire timeline together. Supporters of Deji argue that someone who had known KSI his entire life summed up his personality in one simple sentence: he just wants to focus on himself. They believe that comment reflects a pattern Deji had been describing for years. Others, of course, see it as only one perspective on a complicated family relationship. Another point often brought up goes back to something KSI said during their 2019 feud. He publicly told Deji, "Dej, you know perfectly that you making this video would get me hate. Otherwise, you would have approached me privately." KSI argued that a private disagreement should have stayed private instead of being made public. Critics later compared that statement with the Sidemen's 2026 announcement, which said, "Unfortunately, JJ released the news before we had agreed on a mutual way of letting our audience know." They argue the two situations appear similar, while others believe the circumstances were different and shouldn't be directly compared. Either way, the contrast became another major talking point among fans. Critics argue that's where the comparison becomes hard to ignore. They point out that KSI once told Deji their disagreement should have been handled privately, yet years later, the Sidemen said KSI announced his departure before they had agreed on a shared way to tell their audience. From that perspective, some fans see an inconsistency between what KSI expected from others and what later happened with his own group. That comparison also brings many viewers back to Deji's 2018 Christmas Day tweet. Supporters of Deji argue that his description of KSI's behavior still fits later events, while others believe the situations are too different to draw that conclusion. Whether you agree or not, those old comments continue to resurface whenever new controversies involve KSI. Deji's supporters even argue that some of the frustrations he described back in 2018 are similar to concerns raised by others years later. Around the same time, Deji was also asked on a live stream whether he planned to join the Sidemen, and he responded in a lighthearted, joking way that got plenty of laughs from viewers.
I've got all the details of what really happened when KSI left the Sidemen, and it's fair to say it's all kicking off. Now, I've spoken to KSI's friends, and they are furious at the way things have been dealt with. Now, things got so bad over the last month that KSI even ended up staying in a different hotel from the boys because of all the aggro behind the scenes. And the friend also says he did want a proper farewell after more than a decade with the group, but instead claims he was frozen out. Now, he told them in April he was leaving, and things got so ugly, with some of the Sidemen firing up a load of very, very heated messages left, right and centre. And the friend also claims he was often made to feel guilty for putting his own life first after years of balancing the Sidemen with his music and TV jobs. I'm also told that KSI was genuinely hurt when the Sidemen put a loser sign above his head after his defeat to Tommy Fury in a video. The friends said they often overstepped the mark. And there's one last flashpoint too, because when KSI announced he was leaving, the Sidemen said the news came as a surprise, but friends of KSI claimed he'd informed the group weeks earlier and believed that statement contributed to a massive wave of online abuse at him. Now, the Sidemen later clarified they knew KSI was leaving, but were surprised by the timing of the announcement. Now, whatever happened, it's clear this split was a lot messier behind the scenes than fans first realised.
That even sparked speculation among fans that Deji could somehow replace KSI and the Sidemen after his departure. The idea quickly spread across social media, but at this stage it remains nothing more than fan discussion, and there's no indication that such a move is actually happening. Critics have also pointed to KSI's past jokes and public comments about people like Bazinga, Joe Weller, and Deji, arguing that some of those moments crossed the line into unnecessarily harsh or humiliating humor. Supporters, however, often view them as part of the edgy style of content that was common on YouTube during that era. Looking back, it's easy to see why some people have become more sympathetic toward Deji's perspective.
Your stamina is worse than Snorlax. All you need to do is survive, what, 2 rounds? And then we all know that you're gonna just do the knee for Black Lives Matter and then give up. Fam, you put black people back 100 years with that lot.
Back in 2019, much of the YouTube community sided with KSI. Many fans and commentators portrayed Deji as the bitter younger brother, the villain of the story, or someone acting out of jealousy. At the same time, it's fair to say neither brother came out of that period without criticism. What has changed is how some viewers interpret Deji's original claims. Supporters now argue that several of his concerns about KSI's public behavior seem more relevant in light of later events. Critics of KSI believe he has sometimes presented himself as the victim, handled disagreements in ways they disagree with, placed a strong emphasis on business success and public status, and acted inconsistently over the years. Others strongly reject that interpretation and believe those conclusions are unfair. Whether you agree with Deji or not, one thing is clear. His 2018 and 2019 comments continue to be revisited whenever new controversies involving KSI emerge. For many viewers, that's why this debate still hasn't gone away. Now I want to hear what you think. After looking at the full timeline, do you believe Deji's comments were genuinely ahead of their time, or do you think the similarities are just a coincidence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next video.